Do you turn your phone and do you put your phone into airplane mode when you're on an airplane?
Never once have done it.
You never really?
No, I've never done it. I don't know. I'm an idiot, so I think everything's a scam, and I'm like, that doesn't change anything, does it? Should you do that?
I think you're supposed to do it. And
Okay.
I do think there is a reason to do it. But
I've read something that it's not real.
But I've noticed, like, post-COVID, less people doing it. Like, I've noticed people around me just on their phones, clearly texting. Like, they're not on Wi-Fi.
Well, you can't get signal at 30,000 feet.
I don't know what they're up to, but they are not on Wi-Fi. They're just raw dogging it up there with the cell data on.
I've never been able. You are way more well-traveled than I am. I've never in a plane had cell signal when we got up.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You got to fly lower routes, shorter flights, you know?
Yeah.
Shorter flights.
To Malaysia, you fly at 10,000.
I do it in a series of hops.
Yeah.
So I will only fly an hour at a time, which makes oceans problematic, but I do it.
Wait, let's start the episode because I do want to ask you.
The episode has started.
Well, the episode is going. Yeah, it is going.
This is the episode. I want to know about your...
Are you going to interview me?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds great.
This is what I do on every pod. I don't have a podcast, and I refuse to get one. So instead, I like to go on podcasts, and I just take them over.
What if I drop the credits right in the middle of you talking?
That would be great. It'd be over. Like, this is the whole thing. I'm fine if this entire podcast is like 45 seconds.
Welcome to the Ivey League. Welcome to the Ivey League. I'm here today with an old friend, a comedy savant.
Old presenting.
Yeah, a comedy writer. He has headlined all over the world. How many countries?
70-something. Right?
70-something countries. He's done the Fringe Fest multiple times, taken multiple shows to Fringe. You've been headlining clubs since your early 20s, and now you're 82 years old.
I'm 82 years young.
Yeah, and
yeah, I think like the first like actual, like A-room headline, I think I was 21.
21. We're here with Matt Davis. I'm happy he's in town here in Alabama. Welcome.
Welcome.
How's it going?
Well, I'm welcoming them.
Yeah, welcome them. Welcome them.
Welcome to the room.
What was the first A-room club you headlined? Was it starting?
Funny Bone. No, it was a Funny Bone. Like for a full week, it was a Funny Bone in High Point, North Carolina, that is no longer around.
High Point, North. Where is that close to?
It's not. Just simply not. It's near like Greensboro area, that corridor. So you're kind of in that. You're closest to that tech corridor triangle, whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. North of Charlotte, a little ways away from Raleigh. You're kind of in this weird little pocket there.
Right.
But a comedian named Todd Yon, who I don't believe is doing stuff anymore.
Haven't heard that name before.
Todd was around forever.
I bet he was a killer.
Unbelievable.
Every time somebody mentions an old comic who's like, have you heard of da-da-da? It's like, I bet they murdered. I bet they were
like a ridiculous level of murder.
Not like how people refer to murdering now.
No, it's really hard to match like the energy level that you would see in clubs back in the day like that, where just destroying. And Todd was a dude that would do, I'd open for him, a classic story of him. We're in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
With Todd Yon.
I'm with Todd Yon. And I'm opening, and there's some mix up. Like the MC is sick. There's supposed to be a host. There's not a host. So I'm just going to go up cold, and they want me to cover the host's time. Mm-hmm. Right. And then
just two-man show. You do 30.
We're doing a two-man show, and whatever it was, I'm also covering some of the host time. Mm-hmm. But I don't have like a time to get off stage. I don't have a clear amount of time I'm doing, but the show's late because this person's late. So I go up, and then I look at my watch at one point, and I'm like, I have no idea what time I went on stage. And I don't know.
That's a nightmare
how
feeling.
How long I have left or anything.
How old were you?
Oh, man, 20s.
Okay, so you're not like a 10-year veteran at this point.
No. I'm early 20s.
Okay.
And so I asked, like, from the stage, I'd say, like, I don't know, where I'm at, whatever. And I asked for a light, and they give me a light, like, immediately. Mm-hmm. And then I just do one or two things, and then I go into bringing Todd up, right? And as he comes on stage, he shakes my hand and he goes, "Nice to co-headline with you." And apparently I'd been on stage for like 40 minutes and was not supposed to be, right? And he goes, "You did 40 minutes." And I was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." No, it's fine. I'm going to do 2 hours and 15. Check your watch. And he made me. I looked at my watch, right? And he goes, 2:15. And then I walk off and he goes up, into his set. And he would do music stuff at the end. But he did a solid hour and a half, solid 90 minutes or more of like pure stand-up.
Bang, bang,
Just
bang, bang.
everything a
bang.
punchline.
Yeah.
And then got the guitar out, and it's this whole crazy thing with the guitar and the shots and whatever. And he's a very good musician. And ends in a standing ovation. I go back up, audience on their feet, applauding. And as he shakes my hand, he goes, "Look at your watch." And I went, 2:15. I mean, to the minute,
on the
second.
dot. Yeah, pro guys like that are incredible.
It was unreal to watch.
So you first headline in A Room in North Carolina at 21 for a full week. Was it back when they would do Wednesday to Sunday?
It may have been a Tuesday. So
they would do Tuesday?
Yeah, it may have been. It was a Tuesday. I don't remember. But you would have a mix of those. You'd have like Wednesday to Sunday, Tuesday to Sunday. So you're 6
How
or
many
8.
shows in a week?
You're 6 or 8 shows in a week.
Wow.
Like when I was like house MC here, it was like 8 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday to Sunday.
Yeah, big weekend now is like a Thursday to Sunday, 2, 3. Well, 2, 2. Well, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 2 would be a big week here. I can't imagine headlining at the same place for 8 or 9 shows in a row over the course of 4 days. Do you lose yourself up there?
No, I mean, honestly, it's preferable in some ways, especially if you're working on stuff. So I still do some clubs now that do that. And I will go to do those clubs specifically for that. Mm-hmm. For the fact that you're in the same place and you're doing 6 or 8, shows in a week, so that you can do a show and kind of make your notes and come back the next night. Nothing else has changed except for the audience, but the same venue, same whatever. And you do that over, the course of a week, and you're able to like take something from Tuesday, and then by Sunday you have this chunk that's working.
Yeah.
Right. And you can do that in a week when you're able to not have to drive 6 hours or a flight in between, and
you're not exhausted from travel.
Yeah. So it's really beneficial.
How was your first week headlining? Were you ready? Or
I mean, I would look back now and say no, but I don't think you're ever like ready, like most things.
Did you start at 18?
17.
17?
Yeah.
How would you get in? Where you started here, right?
Yeah. It was a little bit different, but yeah.
Yeah. Explain how it's different.
I mean, it was just a different time, like 96.
You started in 96.
Yeah.
Wow, you're almost 30 years in.
Yeah.
So you said you're 81, so you're 52.
I'm 50. What?
You started at 52.
I started at 52 years old. I'm what's known as a late bloomer. A lot of people don't start that late.
Yeah.
I like to tell people that I haven't started yet. That's a fun one to say. People, when did you get comfortable on stage? I'll let you know. I hate that answer. When did you know you were good at this? I'm still workshopping some ideas.
You should have seen me last night. It was a fucking nightmare.
It was a nightmare. It's a travesty.
Yeah.
It's a travesty what happened. I heard it went great. What do they know?
Yeah. Wait, what? We'll get back to it. I'm bad at this right now. The story you tell.
I think you're doing a great job. I don't like that shirt choice, but
yeah, well, I had to go to my kid's recital, which was not, and like had the head right over here, so I didn't change. What's the story? Is the story you told me about the comedian who died that everybody loved from Texas?
The comedian who died that everybody loved.
He died young. Everybody loves him.
Bill Hicks?
Yeah, Bill Hicks. Sorry, I can't believe I forgot that. My brain shot. What's the story about Bill Hicks killing the first time and then not?
So that's Todd Yon told me that story.
Todd Yon told you that.
Guy.
I want to meet. Can Todd Yon do the show?
I mean, I can try to find him. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's up
Is he
to.
Asian?
No.
What type of?
I don't know.
Is Yon?
German?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just an American.
God, you're so much smarter than me. It's unbelievable. But yeah, tell the Bill Hicks story that Todd Yon told you.
The story he told me, years ago, was him going to see him. I want to say it was Good Nights in Raleigh, and I could be misremembering that. but he goes to see him in the 2-show night, and first night goes up, standing ovation. It's great. Just destroys whatever.
Yeah.
There's his people there. And he comes in and he had worked with him before, met him, and he walks in the green room and, he looks at Todd. Todd compliments him on the show, He's like, that was amazing, whatever. And his response was, yeah, man, sometimes, man. Right? And that's all he said.
Yeah.
And then the second show, like he ends up walking half the room and people are heckling and mad and whatever. And he's screaming at people on stage and all that kind of stuff.
Full Bill Hicks experience.
Full Bill Hicks, on the negative side. And then Todd comes in the green room and he just looks up at me and goes, I mean, sometimes, man.
So we're going to circle back. 21, you headline your first week. It goes okay?
I mean, I guess.
Because you had already been in 4 years. Were those shows still 3 people shows? Were you doing an hour or were you doing 45?
Probably 45.
Okay.
You're probably at least supposed to do 45. Like if I was doing an hour, it was probably to someone's chagrin,
Yeah.
But it's also, when I say it was a different time, it was like, I started and by the time I'm hosting, you're getting like the 8 shows a week, 6 shows a week, right? And then by the time I'm on the road, you're getting a lot of, rough opening 30-minute spot type things. Then on 2-man shows, and then very quickly headlining those, and then you're very quickly doing, headlining one-nighters in these weekend type hotel gigs that existed back then.
There just weren't as many comedians. There was a lot of opportunity, or were there?
There was a lot of opportunity. There was more opportunity, I think, than now, but it was also some of it was economics too. Mm-hmm. Because if you were making the same money now, it's no longer worth doing. But you're talking about what, like a 40% inflation? You know what I mean? Like
right.
Change of value a dollar or whatever. So you're getting a lot of reps in a lot of diverse places and diverse rooms. So you're kind of like tested, thrown to the wolves and tested in that. And if you survive that round, the dangers of it is it's also you're in a perpetual like spring break cycle because every town, you're in these small towns. So every time you go into one, Wednesday's the party day. Mm-hmm. And then the next town you go to Thursday, and Thursday's the party day. And when you're, 18, 19, 20 years old, you're doing this and you're like, man, everyone parties all the time. This is great.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like, no, Wednesday was their party day. They're rational adults the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. You're the only one living like a circus. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to get sucked into that, which it did, And then, the other side of that, there's choices to make, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But
I'm interested, 96, you're in Birmingham, Alabama. The way I started comedy was like, I just happened to go to an improv show, and then afterwards somebody was just like, can you do, and I didn't even realize stand-up comedy happened in those places. In 96, how would you start comedy here? You just went to the Stardome and hung out?
No, so there was some people who ran an open mic at the Stardome here.
Was it Spinozzi and his brother?
Well, they were around. That's what I can't remember. I can't remember if it was Andy and Tim then, or if it was the other group but they were around the same time.
And this was still in the Hoover building. This wasn't in the old one that burned down?
No, yes,
with Carrot Top stuff?
This was like the early years of the Hoover building.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I learned later, you know what I mean? Like that those were the early years of that building. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. There was an open mic, and I've been to like maybe 1 or 2 shows there before.
Who'd you see? Do you remember?
I saw Tommy Chong, and I don't remember what the other one would have been. But I
bet that guy would want to kill himself if he heard you say that.
That guy was Matt Davis. What? Quantum Leap. A buddy of mine handed me back then they had mailer and they would mail out the quarter's worth or every few months worth of shows. You think you could put on the fridge, you know what I mean? And
that's great. That's awesome. Like a TV guide, but for the stand-up.
Yeah, they just mail a flyer. It was all. There's a term for that. I'm forgetting the term. You can bulk mail. You buy bulk mail, right? And so they would do that, and they had their open mic, think you're funny type whatever. And a buddy of mine was like, "You should do this," and I was like, "Nah, I don't know, maybe." And he's like, "It's all you care about. Like you should do this." And he busted my balls about it. And he gave me kind of like a weird, like either do this or shut up about it. And so I signed up for it. And, bringer bullshit, the normal. Can we use profanity on this?
Yeah, we can.
I didn't know if Trump's internet had taken over.
I think we're good. I think we've made it. The odds that I think people will watch this enough for it to hurt the algorithm is my own level of egomania. But yeah, I think we're good now. I already said fuck.
Well, did you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't hear bad words.
Okay, good.
What was I talking about? Oh, the open mic. So I started the open mic thing, and they give you the whole rundown. Then I went. I don't really remember my first time on stage, but I was actually technically out of high school at that point. I was like going to college or whatever, but all my friends were still in high school. So I had a bunch of high school kids show up, to this first time. And I think that is what made Bruce go, what is this? Why, there are a bunch of teenagers, in my club. And so he saw my first set and he was like complimentary of it. And then I went up the second time, however long later that was, which I think back then was a pretty decent turnover, maybe a couple weeks later. And I just bombed. I mean, just the cliche of like the second time bomb. And he pulled me aside and he gave me like a whole talk on, you got to know your audience, This wasn't a bunch of your friends.
Right.
This is a bunch of middle-aged people. You know what I mean? But still all a blur. Like I couldn't process any of it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I just kept doing it. And then he told me, I'd done it a few times, and he told me...
So you would just perform at the Stardome every 2 weeks?
Something like that.
Yeah.
For a few months.
Okay.
And then he told me I could hang out whenever I wanted. He was like, if you want to come to a show, just come to a show. You don't need a ticket, whatever. And that was the biggest mistake he ever made. And I've told him that. Because you could not get rid of me. Like,
you were there all the time.
I was it was just like, well, there's I have to be there. And I watched everybody under the sun, full shows. I was like a host person at the club for like a week. And then everyone realized that was a terrible idea because I didn't care about it. I just wanted to watch the shows. And I got some guest spots by just always being there. And then started hosting. And then I was informed I was the house MC in a conversation that he was having with someone else. It's like, Matt's the house MC now. And that was the first I'd heard of it. You know what I mean? But I was just hosting all the shows.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to there's some other life things that happened and whatever. But I decided I wanted to do...
I love when people yada yada. You're like, some life things happen. It obviously wasn't good life things.
No, it wasn't anything crazy.
I just thought you were yada yada Trump. You were just like, yeah, yada yada. Somebody died, and
I murdered a family of 10.
Yeah.
And no.
But before you continue, I want to circle back. All your high school friends were like, you won't shut up about it. Were you just like obsessed with comedy at a young age, or did you come into it in high school?
Oh, before high school.
Yeah. What got you in? What hooked you?
I mean, growing up listening to it. Like
on vinyl.
Vinyl level.
Yeah. Like who? Like Red Fox?
All the old Carlin, the Red Fox.
Yeah.
The Pryor stuff. Bill Cosby.
Yeah, pretty. He was good at... He's not a good person. Any list of stand-up comedians that's ever made, he has to be in the top 3. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a... Art form wise, he's in a groundbreaking era, right? So he was doing a different thing. So you have to give him that while also acknowledging that he's a monster at the same time.
If you don't want to listen to Bill Cosby, Ali Sadiq is a good representation of that. Ali Sadiq's good. He's not... I don't want people to think Ali Sadiq is a great man. Bill Cosby, not so much. But their type of sit-down storytelling sort of... unrolling stuff is sort of the same.
The world is crazy and I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your list, did your parents have vinyls? Or
my father did, yeah.
So
I saw Carlin live when I was like 14.
Really? Where?
The Alabama Theater.
How was it?
I mean, it was amazing. It was 14. You know what I mean? Like I'd never seen something like that.
Which Carlin were you getting? Were you getting after IRS, I have to do shows and hate this Carlin, or were you getting...
I mean, he was fun and clearly working on stuff. I mean, I recognize that now if I think back, however decent my memory is of that. he was, working on a new hour. I'd have to look up what year that would have been.
Yeah, the first I comedy got me with Chris Rock, with Bigger and Blacker, and then I listened to Bring the Pain on a buddy's old MacBook. And then the next thing I saw was Babysitting Kids, and HBO played one of which George Carlin, It's Not Good For You. That one, like angry George Carlin. And it was weird. I watched that documentary about Carlin, and people were like, yeah, it was so sad seeing him like that. But to me at 14, I was like, this is the greatest guy I've ever seen in my life. I was like, this all makes sense. I think this is hilarious. What's my favorite joke is he says in that special? He goes, I don't like babies. They're unfinished work.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't know, because I don't find anybody who likes that type of Carlin. And my favorite Carlin is the old money grab, hating to be here Carlin. My
favorite Carlin is the last year's Carlin.
Yeah, that's mine. Yeah.
And like literally, as he was progressively getting a little bit heavier and a little bit darker, and then people were kind of like checking out from him, and people point and go, oh, he was more fun back here, whatever.
No, he was great.
He ended at his height, I think.
Yeah.
I really think that he was just continually progressing.
So you saw him about 15 years before that?
Yeah.
Okay. Was Carlin the first comedy show you ever went to?
Dude, maybe.
That's
live.
An incredible one to see the first time.
I haven't thought about that, but maybe.
Did your dad take you? Or
yeah.
Okay. So your dad's a big comedy fan. You're listening to a ton of records. Do you remember any of the specials or records that stood out?
The one that I still laugh about is there's a Red Fox vinyl, and like there was a period with Red Fox where he was just well known enough, people would throw money at him, and so he recorded a bunch of like vinyls that are just like throwaway, man. Like it's literally 20 people in a room. You know what I mean? Just bootleg. No one mastered the audio.
Right.
He's half drunk. That good shit. Yeah. And there's a bunch of that kind of Red Fox stuff floating out there, and it was just total like, I'm getting paid. Kiss my ass, right?
Yeah.
Somebody offered me money, I'm taking it.
I think I've seen one of those on YouTube.
And but there's one of them, and if my memory is right, I swear, like the side A of it is Red Fox as you think of Red Fox, and it's just filth, right? And then the other side's clean. And it's like there's nothing dirty about it. You know what I mean? It's like the two sides of it, whatever. But the opening of the dirty,
it was side, like nightclub, Vegas, Red Fox, and then Sanford and Son, Red Fox.
Sanford and Son, Red Fox, yeah. But like the opening of the dirty one, like I still know the joke. I listened to it so much.
What is it?
It's the man and the woman in the park. Do you know that? It's like there's a man and a woman in the park after dark. And he gets very elaborate with it, on the moonlight, and the love and the bushes.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
That's a great. So that was your favorite one.
Yeah, I love that. Like,
so you were just obsessed with stand up, and then you start while you were starting at the club. I mean, the names that used to come through the Stardom, and there's still great names that come through the Stardom, but who all did you see?
Oh, dude, there's so many. Like, so one of the people that I watched when I was a kid was when like Showtime and HBO start putting out these specials and even buying older specials and putting them out, right? So like all the original Emo Phillips stuff came out on Showtime or HBO. I watched all of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Emo Phillips, to this day love Emo Phillips.
Were you seeing emo, or were you seeing when he cut the whole thing and then stopped doing emo?
So these are his original, like from the late 70s specials, and they were airing in like the early 90s on HBO or Showtime or something. Right. And so we're watching that. I mean, it was still decades removed, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. That
he was in the moment, didn't realize that when we're watching it, but like it was so much older than 10, 20 years off, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then I opened for him at the Stardom, like however many years later.
Yeah.
And like got to watch, Emo Phillips live. And
at
this point, he's a different.
He changed.
He's an adult.
Yeah.
Like he's a changed person, but still a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Still brilliant. Absolutely packed, destroyed. One of my absolute favorite audience interaction things I've ever seen, where he's talking to a guy in the front row, or a couple in the front row, and he asked him how long they've been together or whatever, right? And he's clearly setting something up. And then they say how long they've been together, and then he asks the woman if they have any children, and then they say no, and he repeats it. You know, he goes, "You've been together for 8 years, married for 8 years, and no kids?" I'm like, "No," and he just goes, "Sir, try turning her over." And it's just, it's the emo Phillipsness, and though I'm not gonna do his whole thing, but him doing it is just chef's kiss, amazing.
Yeah. So he was one of the great ones you saw. Who else? Who else were you just blown away by?
Chappelle, young Chappelle.
Young Chappelle. Before Killing Him Softly?
This would have been when Half Baked was being promoted.
Okay.
So whenever your Half Baked came out, because they were like, he was touring promo in that.
How does young Chappelle, because I've seen older Chappelle, I never go see young Chappelle. How do they compare?
I don't know I don't know how to compare them other than just, part of his, growth or whatever. But he was unbelievable. He was undeniable then.
Yeah.
Like young Chappelle is still on stage, like undeniably amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a genius.
Right.
And you can see it. Then who else, man? Mencia. Worked with him a few times. Back in his
when he was skyrocketing
meteoric.
To the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pablo Francisco.
I've heard Pablo Francisco's great.
Man, he would crush. He would just
annihilate in a wild way.
In a way that it's hard to truly understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like how hard he would just destroy a room. Dude, there are so many. Like it would be.
Did you see any great comics who had it rough? There's that whole episode of Louis where Louis C.K. There's a whole episode of his show about not doing well in Birmingham. Did you see comics?
Oh yeah. Come through and have rough shows.
Yeah. It's a different thing down here.
It can be in that room.
It can.
It just depends. There are factors to it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite's Augie Smith. Augie. If you watch this, I'll send it to Augie so he can watch it.
Yeah.
I've told him this. It's still one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Where Augie came in and he's booked for like a split week or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So he's doing the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off the weekend to somewhere else and back on the Sunday or something. And the first night does not go well. But he's not connecting with them. They don't like him. He doesn't like them. It's a mutual hate,
Yeah.
It
is weird when you both realize up top in a set we don't like each other, but we just have to.
We shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I'm confident Augie would describe it similarly. And then I know Augie, so I go and I'm in town. I go see him, and we're talking afterwards. And then he asks for what are some things? I just don't know the city. I feel like I need to know it mentally in my head more. And so I just give him the list I would always give people, things to go do. And like top of the list, like Civil Rights Museum, and you can go this, whatever. I said, I'm going to do that. So he goes and does the Civil Rights Museum and then goes and has a barbecue somewhere, whatever. Just trying to wrap his head around it. And so I go and I watch him on Wednesday. And, he starts off with some very fun jokes about barbecue stuff and whatever that he wrote that day, and people are on board. And he goes, I went to the Civil Rights Museum today. He goes, I don't know if you've ever been. And it's one of those where he just gestures to someone. Like he's not asking the person. He's just trying to be engaging. And I don't know if you've ever been, and gestures to this redneck dude. And the redneck dude just goes, fuck no. And Augie, it was like the perfect amount of air between fuck no with his hand just pointing. And he goes, well, you could walk through it backwards, you ignorant hick. And then he just dismantled.
Lost them completely.
He just dismantled like the city, the history of racism, like everyone in the room. And it was, it was amazing to watch. It was amazing for me to watch as a comedy fan, because he was just hitting on all cylinders. It was just mean and hateful and brutal. And the audience, it was directed at the audience, and they were not for it. And he walks off and he's like, asked if we wanted to hang out. And it's like, nah, I'm going to go back to the room, wait on this phone call that says I'm fired. And then he went back to the room, then he called me at about the time he was going to call, because he was going to say, I shouldn't be here. It didn't work. At this point, he'd already been in comedy 20-something years,
Yeah.
But I think he and Bruce, basically connected at the same time, and they're like, I mean, we both know what this is.
Yeah.
And it was all kind of like a mutual understanding and, all good in the end. Like, yeah, I'm not going to do the next show and there's no need to come back through. And Bruce being very understanding in it, and still paying him what he was contracted for and it not a big deal, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it happens.
It's just a mismatch of things. But it's still my favorite thing to witness is have you ever been fuck no in an angry racist yell and then you can walk through it backwards? Unbelievable line to come off the top of the head.
That's a great line. So you were just performing when you started at the club. That's it. That was the only show you could do?
Do what now?
At Stardom when you started. What other places in Birmingham could you perform at? Because it seems like even me starting in 2013, 2014, it was still like starting was such an abstract thing. Not like it is now where with the internet and podcasts where it's like, oh yeah, you can go here. And if you really want to start, you can go do it. Like I happened into doing it. I can't imagine wanting to do it and then being like, where did you find places to get up?
So there were a couple of like existing mics around the city and then, but they would come and go as they do.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that hasn't changed. They
that never changes.
They go away, whatever. I started some. I ran, one or two here and there, just like bar type open mic things downtown. Other people would start doing it, and then they would know someone, and they would start a thing, and it would come and go. Then there was a period where the Cobblestone Club was open.
That was Ricky Smiley's club?
Yeah, Ricky Smiley was involved in that, and then Ricky would always invite me down to do sets so I could just eat it at that club or whatever. And then
I don't know if I've ever seen a comedian anywhere who kills as hard as Ricky Smiley in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, it's unreal. Yeah.
It's an unreal thing.
And back then he was like huge. And then they had the club. He was there all the time. But he would have me come down and I'd just do shows and just bomb to an audience on Morris Avenue.
Yeah.
And then he would bust my balls about it.
Yeah, working an urban room is hard at the beginning.
Oh, man. Didn't know what I was doing.
Especially when you like emo Phillips.
I understand. Like, I'm an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's ignorance and arrogance that allowed me to start that young to begin with, But I did like lose the apprehension in that room eventually. I don't know if I ever told you that.
Tell again.
There's a... I mean, when I say that I would go and just like bomb, I mean, I would bomb to the level that Ricky would like make fun of me while I was bombing. And then afterwards, like console me over it. Like, you just got to keep doing it, man. Just, you can't let it bother you, And then I'm there one night and somebody heckles me, boos me, whatever. Right. And the person is wearing, and I'm going to get it wrong, but they're either wearing all red or they're wearing all blue. It's one of the two. Right. And whichever one it was, I said the opposite. Like, I'll be damned if I'm going to have some crip, talk shit to me. Whatever it was the opposite of what, clearly, like on purpose did it. And it was like such a ruckus in the room that I said that and that it was wrong. And then I just lean over and there's just like a lady's got a basket of chicken fingers, I think. And then I just take one. Like, because the stage there, like the tables are butted up against it. And I just reach out and take one. And she goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm about to die. Let me have some chicken."
Yeah.
And it just destroyed. And then after that, like they listened to me a little bit. And then I did a couple other jokes and it went okay. No, there's nothing great. It went okay. And afterwards, he like pulled me aside. And Ricky was like, "That's what we're trying to show you, man. Just loosen the fuck up.
Yeah.
Be a little bit confident, you know what I mean? And stop trying to talk like... try to talk with these people, not try to talk to like,
don't talk at these people, talk with them."
Yeah,
for sure.
Be a part of this room, acknowledge the room. You're the only white dude in this room, and you're an 18-year-old kid. Everyone in here is in their 30s and 40s. Like, you're just this anomaly, and like that could be a benefit, but I'm 18 and coming into it with the wrong attitude and being shy about it or whatever it was, insecure about it. And I do credit him to this day for like helping me have that that mental space, like walking into any scenario, like show wise. Like it could be a bunch of rednecks in cowboy hats and boots, and it's like there's a way to do this. It doesn't mean like pandering, and it doesn't mean that, but there's a way to just be honest with this and make this work.
Mm-hmm. How did you transition from? I guess working at the club helped you a lot because you'd meet other headliners and you would get gigs that way.
A ton of comedians, yeah.
And then they would put you on game, and you would know rooms and people to contact, or they'd wreck you, and that's how you started getting out and doing stuff.
The initial phase of that, there's just a ton of people who I worked with that they're also telling you about stuff, right? In the same way you have it now, but there wasn't like a way to look all this up,
right?
So it's not like I could go on Facebook or Instagram or just the internet in general and figure out what the rooms are in Cincinnati. Like you needed to know someone who knew what the rooms were in Cincinnati, and then get the booker on the phone and physically mail them like a VHS tape.
How'd you get a VHS tape of yourself in like '99?
So you have to buy quasi in bulk these short VHS tapes. They're like 8-10 minute of like tape in them, and then you have to get like the replicator deck, right? And so you have it filmed, and you have to take the master, whether that's on also VHS you could do later on, but like I forget the name of the cartridges that they would record on. But then like I think I had like the local news station, like somebody who was an intern there at night that would come to the club.
So in a way,
like,
we've always been chopping clips. We've always been making clips.
Yeah. One way or the other.
Yeah. What would you prefer? Would you prefer the VHS route or what we have to do now?
The VHS route, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't have to be here right now.
Yeah, you get way more distance. You know what I mean? Just 1 8-minute VHS tape. 12 minutes or whatever they were. It was a weird time.
How much did they cost?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Was it enough to be like
$1 million? No.
Yeah.
Nah, it wasn't that bad, I don't guess. But you get those, and you're mailing.
You have to order it, wait 6 to 8 weeks, have the video camera at the one show, and be like, God, I hope this goes well. And if it doesn't, I'll just send it off, and it's not that good.
And then you had to get, we were sending out press kit things where it's literally like a
God, I want to get a hold of your fucking headshot you used to have.
I bet I can find it.
Oh, please, please.
We'd have, you'd have like it looked like the world's worst CV. You know what I mean? It's like a merging of like a CV and like a science report in middle school. You know what I mean? So you've got some folder, some blue folder or green, whatever color folder you've got, and you open it up, and then there's your CV in this pocket, and then this pocket has like your headshot, and you've like stapled a business card onto the thing, right? And your credits are things that were lucky to exist by the time it was printed. You know what I mean? Like to even be relevant. He's done the crab night. It's fucking Bill's crab night.
There's nothing worse when you don't have any credit in the world and having to write a bio.
It's unbelievable. Well, I had help on that. So like the one of the big benefits I had that I feel like it's kind of lost in the present moment a lot. Just the nature of things now is that when you're starting in a club, when that was like the system of things, if you want to call it a system, was that, the people that I'm dealing with every day, whether it be Bruce or whether it be Dina, his daughter, right, were around this all the time. So when I got to the point of like, I need to get a tape and I need to get like a press kit done, like Dina was like, let me see what you're going to put in this before you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a bazillion of them, and she was like, that less is just trim it 4 sentences, man. You know what I mean? You've done nothing. And just very blunt about that. And that helped a lot because I think that clears the deck rather than sending some overbloated press kit where you're trying to make up credits and you're trying to make everything seem like it's bigger than it is. When everyone you're sending it to knows, like they look at it and they go, "Well, I know this is bullshit.
Yeah, this is stupid. Yeah,
this is an open mic you did at at a crab place."
It's like when people send me emails to like get booked on something I'm doing, and I'm like, "Dude, this is a crock of shit." If any of the 5 things you listed to me were true, I would already know your name and know who you are.
Yeah. So like, I I had help.
You guys don't lie. By the way, just quick comedy tip: don't lie. It's so easy to find out.
It's hilarious when people.
Oh my God! I had a comic one time tell somebody, because I don't ever really wreck people much unless and he mentioned me in a booking thing to do 30 minutes. And the person, because they only ever had one person I wrecked and they were really good, just booked the person based on that without contacting me. And I get a text at like, I don't know, 9:30 on a Friday. It's like, who the fuck is da-da-da? And I was like, oh, they're like an open micer from here. They were like, they mentioned you. And I was like, why didn't you text me? Everybody's going to find out very easily.
That's always
your comedy, just like a punchline, is about surprise a lot of the times. Just be surprisingly good and chill. Yeah. And people will be happy to have you back and give you more. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, it's so much of it is just be good on stage and then don't be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And the don't be a pain in the ass thing is unbelievably important.
It's unbelievable. It's more so than being funny. You can be adequately good on stage and better off and get a lot farther.
Because it comes down to, there's it's a zero-sum game of spots and time and whatever, right? So if it comes down to you and someone else, and it's like, well, they're within the same wheelhouse of funny,
who is better to hang around,
and this dude's a psychopath, well, then let's just not inherit that problem.
Yeah,
and that's all it. It's just a personal decision that gets made.
So Dina and Bruce are helping you with your press packets.
Send out like these press packets,
and you want to keep it just like a job, one page. Nobody's going to flip through and read.
Dude, it was so hilariously like a CV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like I do real like media kit shit now, which is, and it's so funny to think that, and it's not just me. Like this is what we were doing. Like this is what was happening.
Yeah,
I have some from other people when I was like trying to book a thing or whatever, and that we would also hand them to each other. So like I'd be going to Houston, and then another comic buddy would be like, "Oh, can you pass this to the dude in Houston?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, of course. And you'd drop.
Keep talking. I'm gonna check the time.
And then
as unprofessional as this is. Okay. No.
So these are all getting passed around.
Right.
Just terrible tapes and ridiculous headshots. God,
I want to see your headshot that used to go.
There is a headshot of mine.
Did you have hair up top? Well, obviously you did. You were 19, or did you lose it real fast?
Here's the thing, though. Like, this is what's funny about it. Is there's a headshot of mine.
Or I guess 96, the Bruce Willis look was in. People might have shaved the head even if they had hair.
The headshot of mine from that period that I remember, and it's because it was on the wall of a club in Oklahoma City that I think is gone now, but was around for a long time. And they originally were in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the first places I went a lot, as I would go up and host the Looney Bin in Memphis, like for the week.
Grew up in Memphis. I don't even remember
Overton Square.
Yeah, I know. I've heard about the club.
Yeah, it was in Overton Square.
I've heard comics talk about it, and I've never remember growing up seeing anything for it.
I mean, yeah, it was a wild, a fun club.
Yeah. Overton Square is a great area too. Oh, Mo worked that.
So yeah, Mo was like my introduction there.
Okay.
I've known Mo possibly like as long as I've done comedy.
Yeah.
That's one of my like oldest buddies.
Really?
Yeah. So Mo got me in there. I would go up and I'd go up do spots, and I started going up and hosting, and slowly kind of moved up. And then they, of course, were connected to some other, clubs. They had like 3 or 4 at the time or whatever, and started doing those. But the Oklahoma City club had my headshot that was from like the Memphis days, and like they had it when you walked in the club, and like every time a comedian who knew me would play the club for the first time and see it, I would get a photo. Like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm 17 years old, right? Clean shaven, obviously.
Yeah.
17 years old, and I have hair, but you can't tell that because I have a hat on backwards, like a 1996 17-year-old douchebag. So
a backwards hat in the headshot.
and just clear a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, looking like fucking TJ from Recess.
Looking like a yearbook photo. And it may have been like taken, you know what I mean? Like it may have been taken at the same kind of backdrop yearbook photo type thing to it.
Oh yeah, like you did it at a Sears.
I mean, something on that level.
Yeah, that's where you'd have to go at that time.
So ridiculous. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Because you could really only go to like a Sears or a Macy's to get a professional headshot done. Yeah.
My first headshot was, if you can count this, was a buddy's dad had like one of the early digital cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, huge, ridiculously expensive,
chunky.
Like,
yeah,
we can do it with science. You know what I mean? Like, he was one of those guys.
It has some sort of plug into the computer that you wouldn't even recognize now.
Oh yeah, that would make no sense.
It shoots it on a floppy disk that you have to shoot out,
and then like 3 coax cables come out and an RGB connector. Yeah, but I had to have one for a.
I like the idea of a young person watching this and having to Google all of those references.
Every term we just used. But I had to have one for the. Maybe that wouldn't be my first. I know it's the first digital thing I had, and I had to have a digital thing. Maybe that's what I'm misremembering there. But for the original New Orleans Comedy Festival, it was like 20 going to that, and there
was a New Orleans Comedy Festival.
Yeah, like
who headlined?
2001.
Who headlined?
Oh fuck, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, just a bunch of shows.
A comic who's watching this who headlines it, puts a gun in his mouth.
Half of the ones that come to mind.
I'll tell you who it wasn't. Todd Yon. I bet he didn't headline it.
We'd all remember that.
Yeah.
It was crazy because that's also early internet. Mm-hmm. And so one of those shows was live streamed. Mm-hmm. But like at a point in time where that's like a peer-to-peer connect. I don't even know how you would do that.
Yeah, it's like when Tom Green had a whole server in his house and he was doing it.
The Tom Green was like, he's like the porn of comedy. You know what I mean? Like he was so ahead.
God, he should call a special that.
That's the porn of comedy?
Yeah. I guess the algorithm would bury it.
But he was like so ahead of everything.
He was so ahead, he's now behind. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. He's farming or something now.
Yeah, so he's so ahead. Like he's living in a van and just driving around and like streaming from his van as he's driving around.
Yeah, he's basically he's just ahead on climate.
Because there's a way you can go so into the future. It looks like, you know, like even Star Wars was a galaxy long ago, and it looked like the future. You know, you can get too ahead.
Well, you talked over my point. He's still ahead. Because he's just ahead on climate change. He's out there like a storm chaser.
Really?
He's out there like a storm chaser.
I didn't know that was his thing.
No, I'm not saying that's his thing. If he's in a van, live streaming from a van, driving around, that's basically a storm chaser.
Oh, yeah, apocalypse.
So when the apocalypse happens, he'll be the only streamer left.
Yeah, he's living life like the icebergs have melted.
Yeah.
All the way. Not as much as they're melting now, but even more so.
I honestly think that now that we've talked about it, that if you look at what Tom Green is currently doing, then you're going to, in 10 years, that's going to be a very common thing.
Every comedian is going to be like...
And then whatever he'll be doing by that point will be something.
Spotify will give $200 million to a guy who's been live streaming in the van.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Matt, I thought we would get, I was like, we'll cover a lot of ground, and I had this whole idea, but we've just been talking. We've been going for 50 minutes. There are a few questions I want to ask you that have just come up.
All right. They've come up?
Serious business.
They've just come up.
No, I mean, as long as you're in town and hopefully the Saturn show keeps going well. I've been so happy you've been in town because there's somebody I can hang out with to work on material and at a mic. You know, it's so good. But we'll have you on, if you will, please come back on multiple times. I want to just carry through the Matt Davis history.
I'm just going to
because we've only made it to you headlining the first time in North Carolina, really. That's all we got to.
Yeah,
it's all downhill.
It's all downhill.
But I want to get to you working with the Tell headline. I really want to talk about you touring around the world, Fringe. We'll get to all of that at later points. And then also, We are going to have a segment where Matt ruins the world for everybody watching.
Why would I do that?
Well, you just need to bring a ray of sunshine to us. No,
I play a like conspiracist game where it's like just connect the plausible dots. And
Matt does this to me sometimes where I will bring up something not innocuous, but I will make a slight joke and he will go, well, here's how it goes and 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 goes. We didn't even talk about sober stuff.
No.
We didn't. We'll talk about that at some point. No, I want to ask you this: with being in comedy since '96, is comedy better now, worse now, or is it indifferent? Is it like music where like, yeah, 60s and 70s rock was great because that's when rock was just forming. So there was a lot more to expand and create on. Like the 80s and the 90s, and now people are just sort of retreading old stuff.
Well, I think,
or what do you think about comedy today versus when you started? Because like even me starting in like 2014, around that time period, it's changed so drastically. Not the art of comedy, but the making it, building a following, business, what routes to go down.
well, I mean, those are two questions. I feel like, right? Because you can talk about the routes to go down and whatever, and that landscape is just always going to change.
Okay.
Right? But I think if you just take the looser comedy thing, then I think you have to first go, well, stand up as a very specific art form within a comedy umbrella, right? Comedy in general has not changed as much as people want to act like it has. Stand up, I think, has changed in a bunch of ways, but people get caught up on some of the terrible that's out there and the reach of the terrible, the low-hanging fruit stuff, the stereotype reinforcement stuff and things like that. All that existed
in the 80s,
in the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s, right? You just had fewer people that broke through. So there are fewer people that we think of now. But there's a bunch of stuff that's very time-locked. It would feel wildly anachronistic to try to watch today. Mm-hmm. It would just feel weird. That for the time was a thing. And you have some of that now, that in 10, 15 years, it's going to feel very, very time-locked and whatever, and it's fine. I just think that the real difference is you're able to see more of the terrible, and terrible is maybe not the right word, but some of the more amateur, some of the newer beginning, people put things out when they're very, very new, mm-hmm. right? Which is not something that you would necessarily
and I
have
guess we're talking about like VHS tapes sending out. The only time you would see a comedian on television, they had been doing it 10 to 15 years.
There was like, maybe not that, but there was like a process of that.
Right. You didn't get on somebody's phone, or somebody didn't watch a comedian in their living room who hadn't been through some sort of process.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have that element of it, right?
But now you can watch somebody 6 months in do comedy
and
in your living room.
Watching somebody figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's important to phrase it that way too. Like you're watching somebody learn and figure this thing out. Whether they are fully aware of that or not, that's what you're watching, right? Mm-hmm. And there's every level of self-aware and delusional in the mix there, right? But it's always been there. Now, as an art form, it is globally more. It's definitely larger. Like it's all over the world in a way that it was not, and it's all over the world in a way that it was not even 10 years ago, like currently. Especially, or 20 years ago, like wildly different, where it's been an introduced art form into places that it just was not a thing, right? Not imported as really, definitely not in local language, didn't exist. And then now it is a thing. And there's a variety of reasons that are a whole, other conversation about that.
Yeah.
So I try to kind of like remember.
Well, I guess when I ask is stand up better, I don't ask as the whole. I'm talking about the upper crust big comics and the headliners at clubs. Are they is that level as good as it was then, or is it the same? You said comedy doesn't change much, or do you think because of the easy access point, it's gotten worse?
So there are let me finish the point on the art end of it, because the other side of this is like, yes, you have you see people earlier, they haven't gone through the growth period and whatever and figured out what they're doing yet, but you're still able to see them, prematurely, I would say. But then on the other end of that, you have people who are able to see, not just that, but like I was having to go to like record stores and go through vinyl bins to find stuff. Like I had a dude, Adam, in Vegas, who like gave me a hard drive that was like every vinyl he had ripped to digital, and that would have been like early 2000s, and that had like Mom's Mabley stuff on it, and had
Mom's
Buckley,
so funny,
and like just all these bootlegs and stuff. But like it would have been impossible to come across that. Now you could go get all that now. You can go on YouTube and you can watch the greatest to ever do it in multiple languages from multiple countries.
Right.
You can go and get access to I'm going to blank on his name, but just a gigantic list of people that you can learn from. So before someone even sits down to write a joke, they also have instant access to people talking about how to write jokes and how to write. And these are the books you can read that'll help you. Those were tools that it was a much slower process to get access to.
Yeah.
So you have people that do show up and they are 18 or 19 or 25 or 30 or whatever, and they're doing their first or second set, and you listen to the set and they're nervous and they're new and they're whatever, but the structure's there.
Yeah.
They get the structure part. They understand that. And so you see the same thing with musical instruments and stuff where.
Yeah. Well, I was actually talking with Ham Bagby recently, and he said something interesting. He goes, yeah, right now it's so much easier because back when I was learning to play, you just had to listen to records and figure out the chords and how they made it. He goes, there wasn't like an online thing. He goes, now I'm playing a gig. Somebody asks me to play a song. I'll just pull it up on my phone, look at the tabs real quick and have it. So that makes sense. So I've never looked at it like that.
But just that sheer access is allowing people to start at a point that I think is beneficial, right? They're able to get to a point, and then there's level of work and effort and other factors in there. What they
just like it's always been,
and I think that's a positive.
Okay,
right. The negative of it, I don't think is as important as people make it out to be. As far as, oh, this guy's got a bazillion people following him or whatever, and all his jokes or whatever. And I'm like,
who cares?
Whatever, man.
Yeah,
it doesn't affect me. Like there are
good for people to. It's hard to make money in this. Good, make some money,
and it's
make some money. If you can make some money, it doesn't really matter.
But it is like there's an apples and oranges thing there because you're not comparing that to Carlin in his late years.
No,
these are different things,
right?
But we're also not comparing a Hallmark movie of the week to the work of Scorsese. We're not. You know what I mean? I mean, I am secretly because Hallmark's banging. Are they gonna get back together? The handyman is here.
That makes sense. Moving on. Last three things. Number one, whenever I bring comics on, Kenny DeForest passed suddenly. I know you did a show with him at Seasick. If you remember Kenny DeForest at all, do you remember anything about him? Do you have any experiences with him outside of that show?
No, we had met before that show, I believe once before, maybe twice before. And it was always just a sweet dude. We always just hung out, chit-chatted.
Yeah.
Nothing, we weren't like buds or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's like so many people, I heard someone say years ago, when I was younger and a comedian friend had passed, and they go, yeah, that's the thing, man. You in this, you end up traveling around, you meet a lot of people. And when you know a lot of people, you're going to know a lot of dead people one day too. Yeah. And it just kind of comes with it. So like, not to downplay it.
But you've seen a lot of comedians. Well, you've actually told me a lot of stories about.
Yeah, some rough ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what happened to Kenny was simply tragic and brutal and a gut shot. And, we're not going to put words together that somehow make it fine.
Yeah. No, I was just asking if you had a memory about it. I'm just asking comics I have on. Because I think it's interesting. I don't know. It's just weird how quickly people just fade and everybody forgets.
No.
But I guess you've experienced that a lot through 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's like names I would list that you've never heard. You know what I mean? That came and went.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also just a human thing. That's nothing to do with comedy or anything else. You know? I mean, that goes back to the Greeks talking about, you know, all the old Greek philosophers no one remembers. You know what I mean? And like they're naming names that like current researchers are like, we have no idea who the hell they're talking about. You know?
Yeah.
Like we really don't know what they're talking about. It's just a forever thing.
Yeah. Next thing, I asked you to do a top 5. Do you have a top 5 of something?
Oh, crap. Here's the thing, is he asked me to do this, and then he gives me a homework assignment.
I did. It's enough to get you out here.
And I don't like to do things. A top 5?
Of anything.
Of anything?
Any subject, big or small.
What about the top 5 things we discussed?
The top 5 things we discussed
What
right
are
now?
the top 5 things we did not talk about?
The top 5 things we didn't talk about, you can pick yours and then I'll pick mine.
Okay, top 5 things that we did not talk about. We didn't get to anything political whatsoever, and you promised me that this was a politically charged chat show.
Number 5, not political.
What? Oh, that you're counting.
We didn't talk
Sorry.
about, yeah.
We also didn't talk about why I stopped doing comedy. You know?
Number 4, why Matt stopped doing comedy,
That's right.
which is an abject lie. Okay,
That's why
number
I
3.
stopped doing it. Number 3, why am I not doing more animated stuff? We didn't get into that. You know what I mean?
Number
I have
2,
some
yes,
good-
why is he not doing more animated
I
stuff?
have some good bangers.
You have some great bangers. What's number 1?
Did we already get to 1?
We're already at 1.
man.
Stuff we didn't talk
That's the thing
about.
about lists, you know? Why we also didn't talk about why I just didn't make a list, which I think we could
Number
do an
1, that's a
entire-
great number 1.
We could talk about, we do an entire episode.
My top 5 of things we didn't talk about.
David Letterman,
Yeah. Number 5, sobriety.
Spiro Agnew.
Yeah. Number 4, why you chose to pursue comedy outside of the country rather than in the United States.
Mhm.
Number 3, what was it like working with Attell when he was more sober than you, but I want to talk about, you worked with him before and after. I'd like to hear about that. Number 2, I would like to talk to you about Fringe Fest, how that works. I mean, I've talked to you about it a bunch, but I think it's interesting to people here. And then the number 1 thing that we didn't talk about that I wanted to talk about.
Cancer.
No, was your best show and your worst show. But we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. If you will come back, I would
Best
love to
show
have
and
you.
worst show is the same show.
That's how it is.
You know what I mean?
That's how
Very
it is.
Dickensian. I like to end in a Dickensian manner.
And then the very last thing, what is something, piece of art, a book, TV show, film, music, something that you'd recommend to people that has something you'd recommend or something that's inspired you?
Is this part of the list, or is this a second?
No, this is a separate
new
thing. I'm trying to do stuff just for clips. I'm
Something
trying
that I
to
would
feed the
recommend,
beast. Something that people don't know about. Oh,
they
you know
don't
what
know about.
I should have talked to you about? And I want to make an addendum on my list.
Oh man,
Send me, can I say it? Send me that thing you were talking about Friday that you have a copy of. The movie.
You made that sound so nefarious.
It's not nefarious.
It's not nefarious, but we can't say what it is. But
We can't say what it is, right?
No, we
I did a smart thing not saying what it is.
yeah. Just
Matt
because
has something
I'm not
very
supposed to
cool
have-
and fun. Yeah, that is scary. It's nothing illegal. It's just, we can't say what it is. But you didn't send it to me.
It's a movie that was never released.
It's a movie that was never released by a very famous comedian
Yeah.
that sort of lives in lore that Matt just randomly told me on a Friday on a show you didn't even go inside to, that you're like, hey, I have this. You want to see it? I was like, yeah, what?
I had it for like years.
You go, do you know who this is? And I go, yeah, I know who this is. But we can't tell you who it is. But I did want to talk about that. But
That's
now we
nice.
can't talk about it. So you know what? My list was correct.
And it sucks too, because that's the art. That's the one art thing I wanted to bring up that's really inspired me.
Oh, Bone Man. Bone Man. We didn't talk about, but that's included in Fringe. Bone Man's in Fringe.
Bone Man's in Fringe.
We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, I want to look that. I'm going to get his name and stuff so we can at least.
God, I would love to Skype with him. I would love to talk to Bone Man. I would like to talk to the artist that does Bone Man.
I think you have to get both.
Oh, yeah. Do half with him and then the other half with Bone Man?
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about Bone Man next time. Matt, what's something that you'd recommend to people? You recommend stuff to me all the time. That's great. Riding through the bones. Riding down the bones.
Have you ever watched a Hallmark movie?
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever watched 2 Hallmark movies at the same time?
No.
Because that's what the magic is. That's what I'll recommend to people. Watch. I don't know if you need a TV and a laptop. However you make it work out. Get your iPad here and your phone, whatever. But get 2 Hallmark movies, right? And get them all queued up to the start, right? And then just go and then just watch.
The same beats happen?
The same beat. It's amazing. It's perfection.
Okay. That's his recommendation. Watch 2 Hallmark movies at the same time. It can be anyone's.
Volume up on both, too. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like,
all
this
the
is
way
like
up.
an Eyes Wide Shut type thing. Excuse me, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, Clockwork.
But also Eyes Wide Shut.
In a way, yeah, we never saw the final version of Eyes Wide Shut. So, Matt, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Love you, man. Incredible comic. Go see Matt Davis. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you with another episode real soon. Bye.